Let me tell you something most people never realize. Your mind is already brainwashed. You heard me right. Every single day from the moment you wake up, you are being fed thoughts through your phone, through social media, through the news, through the people around you. You're being told who you are, what you can't do, what you shouldn't dream of. And over time, that stuff builds up like plaque on your brain. So if you're going to be brainwashed anyway, why not choose the wash? Why not cleanse your mind of doubt, fear, mediocrity, and wash it in abundance, excellence, and unstoppable belief? Today, I'm going to give you a 7-day blueprint to do exactly that. But don't think this is just some self-help fluff. This is a spiritual reset. This is a mindset war. This is how you take your God-given power and apply it like a warrior. Day 1, declare war on negativity. The first step to brainwashing your mind for transformation is to declare war on negativity. This is not a casual suggestion, it's an aggressive command. Most people walk through life tolerating negative thoughts like unwanted background noise. They don't realize that every single negative idea they entertain becomes a brick in the walls that trap their potential. You cannot afford to allow negativity to live rent-free in your mind. This is war, and your opponent is subtle, persistent, and extremely destructive. Negativity doesn't scream. It whispers. It sneaks in through sarcasm, through gossip, through self-deprecating jokes, through the voice of someone you love telling you to be realistic. It shows up in the way you talk about yourself, the way you limit your dreams, the way you assume you'll fail before you begin. You've got to get sick of it. You've got to make a decision that from this moment on, you are no longer available for conversations that sabotage your destiny. You are no longer available for the inner critic that tells you, who do you think you are? You've got to silence that voice with something stronger, something rooted in truth, something unshakable. And here's the reality: you can't destroy negativity with willpower alone. You've got to replace it with something more powerful. That means you don't just stop thinking negatively, you start thinking deliberately. You become intentional about what you feed your mind. You surround yourself with words, people, environments that build, not break. You start to notice the patterns of your thoughts. You start to confront the toxic and France dialogue you've normalized for years. Some people live their whole lives under a cloud they created with their own words. You can't afford to be one of them. If you want to brainwash your mind for greatness, then every time a negative thought rises up, you treat it like a threat. You capture it. You question it. You say, where did that come from? You ask yourself, is this thought serving my purpose or sabotaging it? Because not every thought deserves a seat at the table. Just because it enters your mind doesn't mean it belongs there. And just because you've thought something repeatedly doesn't make it true. Repetition isn't truth. Truth is truth. Negativity is a trained habit. But the good news, habits can be broken. And the fastest way to break a habit is to replace it. You don't just remove the weeds, you plant good seed. Instead of walking around saying, I can't, you declare, I will find a way. Instead of saying, that's too hard, you say, hard is where I grow. You don't speak according to your current circumstance, you speak according to your calling. And when you catch yourself slipping and you don't spiral, you realign. You check yourself and get back in the game. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. This is about refusing to let those problems define who you are and how you show up. This is about putting a filter on your mind the same way you put one on your social media posts. If you wouldn't post it publicly, don't let it live privately. There is power in choosing what you allow to stay in your thoughts. Negativity can't stay where it's not welcome. You train your mind by what you tolerate. And every time you let a negative thought take root without a fight, you teach your mind that it's okay to believe lies. You've got to become a defender of your future. You've got to draw the line in the sand, say, that's it. From here on out, I fight for my mind. Because the truth is, your future doesn't start with a new opportunity, it starts with a renewed end. And a renewed mind starts the moment you declare war. Day 2, speak life. Most people have no idea how much power is in their own mouth. The words you speak are either building a future you're excited to live in or constructing a prison you'll regret waking up to. The second key to brainwashing your mind is learning how to speak life intentionally, boldly, and repeatedly. You've been given authority over your atmosphere, and that authority starts with your voice. The problem is, too many people speak based on their circumstances instead of their convictions. They describe what they see instead of declaring what they want. They rehearse the problem instead of releasing the solution. You've got to retrain your mouth to speak in alignment with your purpose. This isn't just about being positive for the sake of sounding good. This is about using your words as weapons, tools of creation, transformation, and focus. When you speak life, you're not just encouraging yourself. You're programming your subconscious. You are building a new identity brick by brick, confession by confession. If all you ever do is talk about how tired you are, how hard life is, how nothing works out for you, don't be surprised when your life starts to match your words, because your world is shaped by your words. You don't get what you want, you get what you say consistently. There's a law of alignment most people ignore. Your life will eventually follow the direction of your most repeated declarations. And it doesn't matter whether you believe it at first. The truth is, belief often follows speech, not the other way around. You don't wait until you feel confident to speak confidently. You speak confidently until your feelings line up. That's the power of declaration. You can speak life into a dying dream. You can speak courage into a fearful heart. You can speak order into a chaotic mind. But you have to choose it. Every single day, you must open your mouth and prophesy into your own life. You've got to declare who you are, what you're building, where you're going, and where you will no longer tolerate. People underestimate the discipline of declarations. They say things like, affirmations don't work for me. But affirmations aren't magic, they're training. You're not saying them because they instantly change your life. You're saying them because they're gradually changing you. They're reprogramming your belief system. They're shifting your inner narrative. They're confronting the lies that have lived too long in your mind unchecked. Speaking life isn't optional if you want to walk in purpose. It's essential. You cannot carry a heavy vision with weak language. Your words have to match your calling. You can't say, I'm just trying to survive, and expect to live like someone who was born to lead. You can't say nothing ever works out for me and expect opportunities to chase you down. You need to become fluent in the language of success, the language of victory, the language of purpose. That means you start the day not with complaints, but with declarations. You stand in the mirror and speak life over yourself. You say, I'm focused, I am favored, I am full of purpose. I am equipped for every challenge. I am walking in divine timing. I attract the right people and the right opportunities. I am more than enough. And even if your voice shakes at first, even if your heart doubts every word you speak anyway, because your spirit hears you. And when your spirit hears your mouth aligning with truth, it begins to rise up. You weren't designed to be silent about your potential. You were made to speak life, to call things that are not as though they were, to declare the end from the beginning. You cannot outsource this. You can't expect other people to say what you won't say for yourself. This is your voice, your moment, your responsibility. Day 3, feed your faith, starve your doubt. Your mind is a battlefield, and every day you're either feeding your faith or you're feeding your doubt. There's no neutral ground. What you allow into your eyes, your ears, and your conversations is either building belief or building fear. Most people don't realize that doubt doesn't need your permission to grow. It just needs your attention. Every time you rehearse a fear, every time you give energy to what could go wrong, every time you dwell on worst case scenarios, you're watering the seeds of doubt. And the more you water those seeds, the more they take root. Eventually it becomes strongholds, mental prisons that keep you locked out of your own potential. On the flip side, faith grows the exact same way. Faith grows by exposure, by repetition, by meditation. You don't just wake up one day full of faith. You build it, you feed it, you nurture like a flame. And here's the truth. You can't be full of faith if you're constantly feeding on fear. What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you talking to? If you're constantly surrounding yourself with voices that speak limitations, scarcity, and fear, don't be surprised when you start to believe those things yourself. Faith is not just believing something good might happen. Faith is knowing that something good is already in motion, even if you can't see it yet. But you can't hold on to that kind of confidence if your mind is being flooded daily with doubt. You have to make a decision. What kind of mental diet are you going to follow? Just like you can't eat junk food all day and expect a healthy body, you can't consume mental junk and expect a powerful mind. You need to start feeding your faith intentionally. That means you choose what you expose yourself to. You listen to messages that elevate your thinking. You read words that stir your soul. You have conversations with people who speak from a place of vision and possibility. You meditate on truths that remind you of who you really are. Faith is not a feeling. It's a focus. And you maintain that focus by what you feed. Every moment you spend feeding your faith is an investment in your future. And the more you invest, the stronger your belief becomes. Over time, what used to intimidate you becomes irrelevant. What used to scare you becomes small. Why? Because faith expands your capacity. It stretches your vision. It rewrites your internal narrative. But here's the catch. Faith can't grow if you're still giving doubt access. You have to starve it. You have to cut off its oxygen. That means you stop repeating limiting beliefs like they're facts. You stop giving energy to stories that don't serve your destiny. You stop allowing doubt to sit at your table and speak into your decisions. You cannot afford to entertain both doubt and faith. One will always push the other out. So you decide who gets to stay. And that decision is made every single day, multiple times a day, by the choices you make about what to consume, what to focus on, what to speak, and what to let go of. When you start feeding your faith consistently, your whole reality begins to shift. Doors start opening not because of magic, but because your perspective changed. You begin to see solutions instead of problems, opportunities instead of obstacles. That's the power of a mind filled with faith. It doesn't deny reality, it redefines it. It steps into the same world as everyone else, but sees it through a completely different lens. Because when faith is fed, it leads. When doubt is starved, it fades. The power to choose what grows is in your hands. Day 4, create a vision that scares you. Most people don't have a vision problem, they have a permission problem. They are waiting for someone to approve their dreams, waiting for someone to say it's okay to think bigger, to go further, to want more. But the truth is, if you don't give yourself permission to dream at a higher level, no one else will. And if your vision doesn't scare you, it's a sign it's too small. A safe vision is a stalled vision. The moment your dreams become too comfortable, they stop stretching you. They stop demanding your growth. They stop requiring your transformation. A real vision should pull you beyond who you are right now. It should challenge every excuse, confront every limitation, and require a version of you that doesn't even fully exist yet. When you create a vision that scares you, you begin to align with your true capacity. You begin to wake up parts of your spirit that have been sleeping for too long. A vision is not just an idea, it's a summons. It calls you higher. It won't let you settle. It whispers in the middle of the night. It disrupts your comfort. It won't allow you to hide behind your history or your fears. That's how you know it's real. You don't chase vision for comfort, you chase it for calling. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to demand more of you than you currently know how to give. And that's the point. Because the stretch is the setup. The bigger the vision, the more it pulls you into growth, discipline, courage, and faith. But too often, people shrink their vision to fit their current reality. They say things like, I just want to be realistic. But being realistic is usually just code for playing small. You were never meant to build a life that fits within the limits of your current mindset. You were meant to build a life that forces you to expand that mindset every single day. A vision that scares you is a vision that activates destiny. It makes you move. It makes you prepare. It makes you let go of habits and relationships that no longer serve where you're going. Because once you catch a glimpse of what's possible, staying the same becomes unbearable. You don't need more motivation, you need a vision that burns so deeply inside of you that it refuses to be ignored. A vision that wakes you up earlier and keeps you up later. A vision that makes excuses look foolish. A vision that makes your current obstacles irrelevant because the destination is too powerful to let anything stop you. That kind of vision doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. It comes from listening to that still, quiet voice that keeps saying, you were made for more. Not because you're lacking, but because your potential hasn't even scratched the surface yet. You don't create that kind of vision by accident. You create it by deciding to see without limits. You sit down and ask yourself questions most people avoid. What would I do if I wasn't afraid? What would I build if I knew I couldn't fail? Who could I become if I fully committed? And when the answers start to scare you, that's when you know you're on the right track. That's not fear trying to stop you, that's destiny calling your name. A bold vision reveals the areas of your life that need to be upgraded. It reveals where you've been playing safe. It shows you what beliefs need to go, what systems need to be created, what environments need to shift. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It demands that you rise now because vision doesn't follow comfort, vision follows courage. Day 5, build daily discipline. Discipline is the difference between people who dream and people who execute. You can have all the vision in the world, but without daily discipline, it will stay trapped in your imagination. Discipline isn't glamorous, and it's not exciting. It's not about what people see when the lights are on. It's about what you do when no one's watching. It's waking up early to build when everyone else is sleeping. It's saying no to distractions that don't look dangerous, but slowly eat away at your momentum. It's choosing purpose over pleasure, direction over distraction, results over reasons. Most people think discipline is a punishment, but it's actually a gift. It's the highest form of self-love. It says, I care about my future too much to sabotage it with temporary comfort. You don't get results because you're motivated, you get results because you're committed. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline keeps showing up. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't negotiate with excuses. Discipline says we move anyway. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you build self-trust. You reinforce the identity of someone who follows through, someone who gets it done, someone who can be counted on. There's a war happening between your comfort zone and your calling, and discipline is the weapon that wins that war. You don't need more information, you need more application. You already know what to do. You already know what's getting in your way. Discipline is choosing to act anyway. It's choosing structure over spontaneity, system over chaos, consistency over bursts of inspiration. The world rewards consistent action, not occasional intensity. One great day won't change your life, but one great habit practiced daily will. Discipline is not just about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. It's about removing the distractions that dilute your success. It's about eliminating the habits that sabotage your energy, your clarity, and your time. You can't build a world-class life with average routines. Every day you're casting a vote for the kind of life you want by the choices you make. What you tolerate in your routine is what you allow in your results. You can't pray for excellence and operate in chaos. You can't ask for overflow and live with inconsistency. Discipline is the bridge between the life you desire and the actions you take. You have to stop romanticizing the idea of change and start respecting the process of becoming. It's not always fun. It's rarely convenient, but it works. Every time you choose the hard thing over the easy thing, you level up. Every time you show up when it would be easier to quit, you separate yourself from the crowd. Because most people quit on day 3. Most people let feelings dictate behavior. But you're not most people. Discipline makes you uncommon. It makes you unshakable. It gives you the edge that talent alone can't provide. And here's the truth, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a decision you make every day. It's a skill that gets stronger with practice. You don't wait until you feel ready. You start with what you have, where you are. You set the alarm, you follow the plan, you do the work. Not once. Daily, because repetition is what turns behavior into identity. You're not just trying to succeed, you're becoming the person who succeeds. And that version of you is built one disciplined day at a time. Day 6 separate from small thinking. You can't fly high if you keep tying yourself to people who are afraid of heights. One of the most powerful decisions you will ever make is choosing who gets access to your life, your energy, and your vision. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your growth. Not everyone can handle where you're going. And if you're serious about renewing your mind, you have to be serious about separating yourself from small thinking. Small thinking isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes wrapped in concern, in familiarity, in loyalty. It sounds like just be realistic or don't get your hopes up or nobody from around here ever did that. You have to develop the ability to recognize when someone's language, mindset, or presence is shrinking your vision. It's not about arrogance. It's about alignment. You were not designed to spend your life defending your dreams to people who are committed to average. You don't have to be rude. You just have to be resolute. You have to protect your mental space like it's sacred ground, because it is. Every conversation you have is either watering your future or poisoning your potential. Every person in your circle is either stretching your faith or feeding your feeding. And if you don't take inventory, you'll look up months or years from now wondering why you feel stuck, not realizing that it was the people you kept around who were anchoring your progress. Separation is not about thinking you're better than anyone. It's about knowing what environment your future requires. Just like a seed can't grow in toxic soil, your purpose can't thrive in negative environments. You need to be around people who talk possibility, not just problems. You need people who challenge you, not just comfort you. You need voices that call you higher, not ones that keep you small to make themselves feel safe. And sometimes, day 7, give thanks like IT's already done. You cannot elevate your life while staying connected to people, environments, and conversations that shrink your thinking. Small thinking is contagious. And if you don't protect your mind, you'll find yourself lowering your standards just to keep peace with people who are afraid of growth. The people you surround yourself with either challenge you or chain you. They either speak life to your vision or smother it with doubt. It's not about arrogance or thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that your destiny is too valuable to be diluted by conversations rooted in limitation. If someone doesn't believe in possibility, they will never understand your purpose. If someone is content with average, your ambition will always make them uncomfortable. You don't rise by staying in circles that validate your excuses. You rise by stepping into environments that demand your evolution. There's a reason elite athletes train with other elite athletes. There's a reason top performers swim with people who think bigger, move faster, and refuse to settle. Proximity shapes perspective. Who you're around is a mirror of who you believe you are. If you keep entertaining people who only talk about problems, you'll start to believe that solutions are impossible. If you keep listening to voices that question your vision, you'll begin to question it too. That's why separating from small thinking is not just a suggestion, it's a strategy. You have to be willing to disappoint people who are comfortable with the old version of you. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. And that doesn't make them bad people. It just means their season in your life may be complete. Growth demands separation. Separation creates clarity. And clarity makes room for acceleration. You can't be worried about fitting in when you're called to stand out. You weren't designed to blend in with the background. You were designed to lead, to build, to create, to shift atmospheres. But that calling requires space. It requires boundaries. It requires the courage to say, this relationship, this conversation, this environment, it no longer aligns with where I'm headed. Every time you make a decision to surround yourself with growth-minded people, you reinforce the belief that you're worthy of more. You remind your subconscious that your vision matters. You shift your energy to match your assignment. And it's not always easy. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But the discomfort of separation is nothing compared to the pain of stagnation. Staying small to keep people comfortable is a cost you cannot afford. If someone truly supports you, they will celebrate your growth even when it challenges them. If they don't, they were never really for you in the first place. This is about being intentional. You start paying attention to what conversations energize you and which ones drain you. You notice who pushes you to think bigger and who pulls you back into doubt. You listen to your spirit. You trust your discernment. And when you realize you've outgrown a space, you don't apologize for leaving it. You bless it and move on, because the next level requires next level thinking. And that kind of thinking can't thrive in toxic soil. You become the sum of your environment. And if your environment isn't reflecting where you're headed, it's time to shift it. Not in bitterness, but in boldness. Not in pride, but purpose. Because the version of you that fulfills the vision is not the version that stays stuck in small circles with small conversations. The version of you that builds, leads, and influences on a massive level is the version that chooses alignment over approval, purpose over comfort, and growth over familiarity. Gratitude is not just a reaction to something good happening, it's a decision to believe that something good is already in motion. When you learn to give thanks like it's already done, you step into a level of faith that moves things before they even show up. Most people wait for the breakthrough before they express gratitude, but that's backwards. True gratitude is expressed in advance. It's a declaration that you trust the process, that you trust the timing, and that you trust the outcome. It's telling your mind, your body, and your spirit it's already handled. You begin to operate from the end. You start to speak and act like the outcome is inevitable. That changes your posture. That changes your energy. That changes the way you show up. When you thank God, the universe, or life, whatever you believe in, for a result you haven't yet received, you create alignment. Gratitude in advance is not wishful thinking. It's spiritual strategy. It says, I don't need to see it to believe it. I believe it, so I will see it. And that belief magnetizes results. It shifts your atmosphere. It attracts what you're prepared for. People think they need more hustle, more effort, more pressure, but sometimes what they really need is more gratitude, because gratitude unlocks peace. It removes fear. It silences doubt. It stops the internal panic that says, what if it doesn't happen? And replaces it with, I know it's already mine. You don't beg when you're grateful. You don't stress when you're grateful. You don't compete, compare, or overthink when you're grateful. You walk like someone who's already carrying the promise. This mindset isn't about ignoring your reality. It's about choosing which reality you're going to focus on. You can either focus on what's missing or focus on what's manifesting. You can either live in frustration or live in expectation. Gratitude is the fastest way to shift your frequency from scarcity to abundance. When you give thanks in advance, you train your mind to expect good things. And expectation creates preparation. When you expect something to show up, you start preparing like it's on the way. That's when momentum kicks in. That's when the doors start opening. That's when the people resources and opportunities begin to align. You don't need a sign to be grateful. You don't need a miracle to praise. You can be in the middle of the struggle and still say, thank you for the outcome I haven't seen yet. That's power. That's faith. That's how you brainwash your mind to stop reacting, start creating. Because when your gratitude is rooted in expectation, you stop waiting, you start moving. You start talking like the person who already has it. You start dressing, walking, and thinking like the person who's already living the vision. Every morning you wake up, you should say thank you not just for what is, but for what's coming. You give thanks for the wisdom, the favor, the growth, the income, the healing, the relationships, the opportunities. You speak it, you believe it, and you walk in it. Because what you thank life for in advance, you prepare your life to receive. Gratitude is the evidence of faith, and faith is the engine of manifestation. When you live in that space, you're no longer chasing outcomes. You're aligned with them.